That is his school. So certain arriving masters to this place, ancient births of the Jabarians, as you probably don't even know what that means, right? And some of you must be walking up. And so masters would come. The master that you saw was called Rama. If you would have gotten a closer look at him, he comes from 4,000 years before Jesus. If you would have got a closer look at him, you would have saw that he had white hair and red eyes. He's a caramel complexion, fairly thin, and his name is Rama. He visits this planet many times. He lives in Shambhala. I don't care how crazy it sounds to you, or one day you'll find out it's true anyway. That in the center of your planet, there is another world in the center. There's subterranean pathways to different chambers in the center of your planet. The pyramids are entrances there, and so are the pyramids out in South America and the Nairobi Desert, and out at the Antarctic is the entrance in. And Yanin is one of the masters of the school of the bird. They call him the feathered bird. This is why in South America, when they look over the sky and they see this image of this bird on the ground, that is his school. So certain arriving masters to this plane knew what school they would go to. Each galactical, body had their own school on this planet. Muslims don't realize that throughout the Holy Quran, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is speaking about angelic beings coming to earth, you even turned them because of Christianity in the 18th century into little white babies with wings when you're talking about celestial and terrestrial beings or extraterrestrial beings who have been visiting y'all for a long period of time. Because some of you are the sons and daughters of extraterrestrials who came here, and you have to be brought back to power to defend this planet against the destruction by Azazel and what they refer to as Lucifer and the other 200 fallen angels, which were again extraterrestrial beings who invaded this planet 6,000 or 5,000 some odd years ago and have been ruling, and have caused the masters to either hover or to go into the subterranean parts of the planet, and they just come up to either ascend to the earth to teach man, or they will make intergalactical communications, leave and come back. And this is what Elijah saw. This is what Jesus said when he said he was caught up in a whirlwind in the cloud and went up. The whirlwind in the cloud is the ship itself. Elijah was taken up in a chariot, and Enoch was translated into heaven by a chariot. It's throughout the scriptures. And 3 men visited Abraham at his tent, and then one went up, and the other 2 went on down into Sodom to try to talk Lot and his family into coming out. You know, these stories that you have interpreted in the scriptures strictly as religious dogma because of the translations by the Christian churches, etc., who had no knowledge of extraterrestrials, they have turned the spiritual community of beings who have existed in other galaxies into gods or into angels and gave them a bunch of names that didn't apply to them. And so you just happen to mention one who was very powerful, Yanun, his name is. They say Yanin, it's pronounced Yanun, depending on the dialect of what galaxy you're in, the pronunciation changes. And the one you described was another one called Rama, who's asking you about Yanin because Yanin is assigned to give you all answers about the things that you need to know in this time and the time that you've come from, to be able to distinguish the 144,000 who would be those extraterrestrial beings, prepare them to create that whirlwind and make that ascension out of this state, which they call the rapture, rising up from the earth while it goes through its turmoil with the Lamb, as they refer to him, which is merely a symbol of a humble being from an extraterrestrial. That's why the Quran says, we sent you down to earth. See, they keep missing it. It says, when there's a turmoil in the garden in heaven, that we cast you down to earth in the Quran. From where? The angels come down from where? From floating around in the sky. No, they sent you down to Arbuk, which is earth, the blue planet, They sent you here from other galaxies. When you violated the law, intergalactical law, you was cast down here like prisoners. You all are wayward, as you would call it. I don't know a better word for it. That you all are assigned to a prison. Earth is a prison that you all are in. And you are people who rebel, who would listen to Satan, as you call him, which was Azazillah then, or Tanush. You listen to him. You follow? And you've been assigned to earth until you overcome that. Until you turn and give your total reverence to Huwa, Allah, Allazi, La ilaha illa Huwa. But you incorporate in that, even that when you say Huwa, you have to say God, Allah, God, God, Allah. You keep interjecting. You personify him and said he was Master Farad Muhammad, or he was Yahweh ben Yahweh. You always have to do something rather than to just serve the omnipotent source of the Hawa, or way is inside you, the essence of life. So now you've been assigned to this prison, which is called Ardut, the blue rock, earth, until you, which they say, are born again. And born again of what do they say? Of the body or the spirit? Of the spirit. Y'all must be born again of the spirit. You must be transformed from being this mortal being who is destined to die back to immortality. You follow? You must become a supreme being again in order to be worthy of intergalactical traveling again. So now what has happened, the devil's seed is in the earth, mixing in with the God seed as you'd have it, and it's keeping y'all bound to the planet and creating new dogmas every day, new deviations from the fundamental truth, and calling it religions and sects and all different types of denominations, Sunni, Shia, Ahmadiyya, Bilalian, black Muslims, Hindu, Buddhists, and just creating new dogmas to keep you from seeing the straight, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, as they call it, the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight way of those who made the pathway through the galaxies. The Sirat when they say in the Quran, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. They're telling you, I want to be guided, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. I want to be guided to that way. I want to get back out of here. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. You know what I mean? That sirat of those who you have given your grace, Allah Ta'ala. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. I don't want to be like those people who got this everlasting curse, who's damned to this earth forever. ولا الضالين. Or those who deviated off that path that was leading from Malakut to Nasut and went somewhere else. Or as they translated in modern times, have left the path of Deen al-Islam and went into other denominations of thought. And you deviate from the path of Deen al-Islam when you deviate from the path of Millah Ibrahim, when you deviate from the religion that Allah Ta'ala gave to the Prophet Adam, which was the way you should work your way back to Jannah to Idris, back out of this plane and back into Malakut, the domain of angelic beings from which most of you have come. But some people here have made an everlasting pact with Azazillah or Tanush, this being who tried to overthrow Mikael in Malakut prior to the birth of your planet. As a result of that, was cast down. Some mortals have succumbed to him and begin to worship him in a subtle kind of way. One of his names is God. And they've taken it and called Allah God and Jehovah God in the Akhirah, etc., etc., etc. You follow? So you just happen to touch on a very sensitive subject. And I am here to try to bring you all back to that teaching. But I got to start with what you understand. I got to start giving you what you think you want, so you'll learn how to think on the level of what I have to give, or what you know you need. But I can't start by pouring out. I've been teaching for 20 years on earth, in and out, visiting in and out of here. Different beings speak to you at different times through me, trying to answer all of your questions to prepare you for the real knowledge, the real information that you have to have after you get through wobbling in how great you are and how you got here and how you're Abraham and you're Peter and you're this. When you finish all that ego tripping, then I can get down to teaching you the truth about things and prepare those who are supposed to leave here to prepare so when the ship does come, they can go. You follow? And I know that sounds crazy, but he wants to make me sound crazy. That's why he made movies like Star Trek, because he knew this knowledge. The devil, Iblis, he knows these things. And that's why he saturates the television with a bunch of things like fiction, so that when the final truth comes, I say, your whole concept of religion in the Bible is wrong. You don't even know what you're talking about. You're talking about intergalactical beings. You're not talking about angels. You're talking about the ultimate source of all existence. You're not talking about God and Jehovah. Those are just expressions. When you say Allah, you're saying El-Hua, Yahoo, oh, he who is. And you cannot define him while still confined to this prison called the physical body. It's amazing